Happy New Year and welcome back to the JONATHAN BENAIAH Podcast. Now, for context, if you've not listened to the previous sections of this exciting episode, be sure to pause this particular one and go back and listen to those other two sections. In this third segment of the episode on 2022, a year in review, my guest and I will discuss two big stories. But let me now just rewind back to a story that I saw around April 2022, and I'll get comments from, I guess, both Brian and Kojo. Rwanda did mention that they've set aside a landmark project to expand Volcanoes National Park. Now, this project is expected to cost about $255 million, which the Uganda shillings equivalent might be about 930 billion Uganda shillings. And they say their intention with the expansion is to pretty much create a better habitat for the mountain gorillas, but also in return get more benefits to the community. Now, Brian, as someone who sells trips to the gorillas both in Uganda and Rwanda, what are your genuine thoughts or sentiments on this?
Well, thank you, Jonathan. If we look back and you look at destination Rwanda as well, let's just say half a decade back. That's a period of like 5 years. If you look at what Rwanda has done to this generation, you realize that there is so much that has happened, and tourism being they are among the biggest top dollar earners in the destination. Rwanda is actually capable of doing anything for tourism to grow. And I think the entire tourism space has seen that. If you look at statistics as well, as much as, yes, they are trying to expand Volcanoes National Park to be more and give the giants enough space to roam around, this is actually huge. I think this year around March, if I may be corrected later, the Ellen DeGeneres campus was completed, and if you look at all these things happening in Rwanda, you realize that there is so much going on, and they really want conservation to be on top of their game. So, having expanded the national park as per what the news said around April, wanting to expand Volcanoes National Park brings us to a point that it's not only gorillas we are talking about. We are talking about community, because at the end of the day, the national park is actually adjacent to the communities. So what are the communities also, what are they going to do to benefit from the expansion? So the major point might not be actually the gorillas. In tourism PR, it should be gorillas, but we are looking at conservation at the back end.
Yeah.
So the communities, first of all, are going to benefit from this.
Yeah.
So definitely the space that was taken, there's going to be development around the national park. Quite. Chiniji town. Kojo has been to Rwanda so many times, I think. He will also give you a more lighter insight of what Rwanda is actually. Yeah. I always see him actually in Rwanda every day. Almost every event he's there. Yeah. But he will give you the exact insight, because as much as we take tourists there, we have 4 days, 5 days in the volcanoes. Yeah. This is an experience that you will not compare anywhere else. I mean, we are competing. Rwanda is competing with Uganda in terms of gorillas. Yes, fine. Uganda might have the biggest numbers of gorillas, but there is this one special place that is attached to the Rwanda destination, yes. Which is the volcanoes. And we all accept the big guys are all going to Rwanda, because they have appreciated all these things.
Yeah, and they've really prioritized, leave alone this discussion of talking about priorities and not actually showing it when it comes to budgetary allocation.
Exactly.
Jonathan, I'd like to remember, sorry, you remember before you bring in Kojo, I remember actually we talked about something to do with the packaging, the development of the tourism product of Uganda. And I think this is where, as much as I don't want to say, but I feel this is where Rwanda is beating us on, because they have understood what this packaging is, okay? So if you look at, probably Uganda would have a better story. We had the Batwa were in the parks and stuff. But then at the end of the day, someone takes them out, and now there is already a segregation from Batwa and the gorillas, which would have been making much, much better sense with the whole of almost Kisoro, because they are Batwa people, into the park. And when you're talking about expansion of that, of the volcanoes, then I see them incorporating community and the gorillas all together, having it as a tour package, which is a more sellable product, I believe. So kudos to them.
That's kudos to Rwanda indeed. Now, Kojo, I know, as Brian did mention, you've been to Rwanda quite a number of times, and you've covered the gorilla story quite extensively. I do see you in Rwanda almost every year for the Kwita Izina event. I'd like to also get your thoughts on this expansion of Volcanoes National Park.
Okay, so I think that the authorities at Rwanda, are doing a great job, and for us to be able to understand, I've not had, I'm not armed with all the information, but again, to expand and to see how they can, if you like, better the experience of travelers, at the same time maintaining or conserving the environment is very critical. So I'm pretty sure that they've taken all that into consideration, and we have to be able to look at the carrying capacity, because there's always issues around preserving the wildlife, preserving the environment, etc. So I'm not seeing all the facts, but what I can say is that if the authorities obviously can also give some information around what kind of expansion are we looking at? Are there going to be some structures or something that would disturb the ecosystem? Then that's a challenge. So so long as they've done their carrying capacity work to be able to understand and also come to a conclusion that it will not hurt not just tourism, but the local people and the wildlife. It's very important that we give them the space to be able to look at whether it's something that they see in future. All these thorny questions are answered and are addressed before we can run to conclusion in saying that perhaps it may bring human interference around that. So that's my take on this.
That's a good take, and I like the bit that you did hint on to do with the communities. I guess quite a number of people are going to be displaced, or rather relocated, with the expansion, and it's good to see that their lives are also, I guess, the government. I want to imagine that the government has all of that thought out already, knowing how Rwanda works.
I mean, if I may just add this, to it, and it's a very difficult situation, that having to balance that. So because you have to be engaged with the community, with the opinion leaders, with the chiefs and the people, and sometimes it gets to the point of compensation and all of that. So when these facts are put out there, it allows everyone to be able to have a bit of a objective conversation and analysis of it. But so far, I've not heard anything untoward, except to say that perhaps because of lack of information, so we can be able to put something out there and then discuss around that.
Fantastic. Now, we've not heard from Aisha in the last couple of minutes, so I'd like to fly back to the US and hear from Aisha. Aisha, I imagine you're feeling a bit homesick. You must be missing home. I know I can say that as someone who lived in the US myself as well.
Aisha, how is the cold?
Yeah. Okay, yeah, but Aisha, one of the biggest stories locally here in Uganda, one of the biggest, majority of the stories that we saw journalists cover around the tourism sector were stories around mountain tourism, or if you call it mountaineering. And we had several escapades go up the mountain, and that's particularly the Rwenzori mountain. But also just over the Christmas period recently, I saw Ministry of Tourism also pushing Elgon as another product. Earlier in the year, we also had a VVIP hike by an actual reigning king who surprisingly got to the top. It's kudos to King Oyo of the Toro Kingdom. But Aisha, for your years of experience, I know you worked with Uganda Tourism Association and you've worked in the tourism private sector for a while. I'd like to know what did these stories around, if I could call it a shift from the usual the contemporary safari experience of the game drive. What were your sentiments when you read about this deliberate effort to promote mountain tourism?
Thank you, Jonathan. Well, yes, like you've actually said, the year has been more. The country has been promoting a little more of the mountaineering bit. Yes, we've seen King Oyo hike. There was even a Rwenzori marathon, I think, led by the team Amos and Kapshenga. Then we are seeing the drive to Mountain Elgon. Well, I think that is a drastic shift to showcase the kind of the various diversity of products the country has. And to me, it's a plus because I'll draw back examples in marketing that once you make noise for particular product, trust me, it's going to get attention. So if you are making noise for Rwenzori, people are going to pick interest and be like, oh, if King Oyo has done it, I can also do it. As an individual, I have passion for cultural tourism because Uganda is blessed. It is blessed with diversity of cultures. Oh my God. It is really, really different cultures, different unique way of life, the food, the dances, that games. So that actually propelled me to start up my organizations called Rural Tourism Initiatives. And Rural Tourism Initiative encompasses, as you hear it, rural tourism initiatives. But our first key pioneer project is the Wafe Culture Village, which is showcasing the Chiganda culture, the food, the Luombo. Let us go to the garden and see how our great-grandies used to, get the food, prepare it in a formal way, serve it. What are our practices? How do we handle the girl child? The Koja and Senga talk as we are raising our children to prepare for marriage. So this is something everyone is looking out for. I've been here trying to pick examples here, asking a few colleagues here in the US, in particularly here in Barrington, and they're like, wow, you have a very good project. Would love to come and see what Uganda has to offer in terms of the culture. And we also, be part of it. So I think it's high time the young people actually started focusing on other kind of products the country has got to offer. Things of culture, mountaineering, things to do with, other community, different tourism products other than wildlife. Yes, we have wildlife, but also Tanzania has wildlife. Kenya has wildlife, So we need to trigger a little bit as we are serving our customer such that we are able to give diversity. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Thanks. That's good to hear. And I'd like to bring in Bentik at this point as we still talk about these things called mountains.
Bentik, how many times have you been to Mountain Rwenzori?
I've done it 5 times now.
Wow. That's quite an inspiration. I know I want to go up the mountain, but I'm still...
I still look forward to the day you go up.
Yeah, but Bentik, one of the biggest stories I read is around the climate crisis. That is pretty much evident when you get up the Rwenzoris. The melting glaciers and all the different things. I know as someone who's been there several times, you can give us pretty much paint a better picture of what the issue exactly is and what needs to be done. So over to you.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. At least you asked me about something I'm really passionate of. Yeah. Mountaineering is a very beautiful thing, but let's now look so much to what you asked, the Rwenzoris. I've been to the top of Rwenzori at the Margaritas 5 times. No, not 5 times, 3 times. And I've been on the Rwenzori mountain 5 times, okay? That's different. Many people, when you talk about Mountain Rwenzori, they think about just going all the way to the snow. But this is a park that has very many different ranges. And you could actually do, they think the big trips they sell is about 12 days hike because you're doing different mountains. But if you're going to do all the 5 peaks in Mountain Rwenzori, I'm sure you could go to about 21 days. So this is a product that maybe Uganda is taking so little from, yet it has a lot of potential. But you talked about the glaciers. The first time I went there was in 2018. and this was in Feb. These are the beautiful months. Jan, Feb, March. Those are the beautiful months where you find a lot of snow at the top. But if you go mid-March, mid-year, like in June, the snow is midway, but at the very top, it's literally rocky, bare rocks. So the first time I went to the top, I felt so bad that I had seen the most beautiful thing at a very tender age. I didn't think I would ever see anything. And I promise you, I haven't. I haven't seen anything as beautiful as being at the top.
Yeah.
But going there again in June, again I got my heart broken the second time, because you reach at the time, this is the time when there's a lot of sun in this place. The snow is very soft, in that you wake up very early and you get to the snow and you're stepping into the snow, and as early as 7, the sun is already out there and the snow is melting, so you're literally just breaking and sinking into the snow.
Wow.
If you saw some of the videos I took when we were going up, the ones of June, people were actually breaking, your legs would go, dum. You're falling into the snow.
Yeah.
It is hectic, it is tiring, and then when you come down much lower the glaciers, the melt is much faster, and then we've kept on hearing of instances where River Nyamwamba, River Mubuku are flooding. This is exactly coming from the top.
Right on top, yes.
The sun melts, the sun hits, and the glaciers are melting so fast, and then all that water is causing a total destruction down there. So I don't know how we're going to do this, because you see, the problem with climate is every person, everything you do, you contribute
directly to it.
Yeah.
So how are we going to cut on the carbon and stuff? I don't know. But it is a serious thing. It is a serious thing. And many people maybe don't talk about this with too much pain because they haven't reached there. You could tell me the statistics of Ugandans that have actually reached at the top. Yeah? But if we had more people going to the top and seeing what has changed there, and then maybe people would have reflected on the way they are carrying out their life. And
Yes. Yeah. If I may add something on Bentex.
Sure, Brian.
On a business perspective, I'm going to now to speak on the business end.
Yes, yes.
As much as we are talking about conservation, but conservation does not happen without business.
Yeah.
So if you look at 2022, I think the drive to create awareness about mountain rensori by Uganda Tourism Board has been actually up. Even when we go to when we went to South Africa for marketing, London, Netherlands, name it, even USA recently that you store up, the people who went for the United States of America Tour Operators Conference, it was strictly mountain rensori. If anyone has been following. So we are trying, the destination, Uganda Tourism Board is trying to create awareness for mountain rensori. Mountain rensori is not just a mountain. When we talk about the highest peaks in Africa, it takes which position?
It's the third.
It's the third.
After
in Africa. Kilimanjaro
and Kenya.
Kenya, then Rensori.
And it's also the highest range.
Exactly. Yeah. And being in a rift valley, it's a unique feature.
Exactly.
Snow on the equator.
Exactly. So all these features, if you bring them all together, and as a destination, I think this year Mountain Rensori has been doing well in terms of awareness. And believe me, sometimes marketing and public relations don't just work instant. But I promise you, in the coming years, Mountain Rensori is going to receive so many people hiking up there.
If I could actually add something, there are treaties that are attached to the River Nile. Yeah. Treaties that call Uganda as a country not to do particular activities on the river because it has life it's supporting. Exactly. Yeah. Now, I think the world would be so selfish to think of Congo and Uganda being the only countries responsible for the Rensoris. Because in Africa, I believe, and I know for a fact, geographically, Rensori plays a lot in the way we receive rains and, if you look at the convection array, it plays a lot. So I believe there must be something. The world or Africa at large should come in hand to do something about I don't know. Are we going to plant trees? We've really planted enough trees. We've planted trees, but
I think on a tropical perspective, Uganda is still tropical, to be honest. But we still need to do more.
Oh yeah, there's a lot. A lot is needed to be done.
It feels like just talking about this feels like I'm back in my geography class. Fantastic stuff. Well, this marks the end of the third section of this great discussion. Coming up in section 4, we talk about what new products, what new lodges, what new destinations. We definitely talk about prospects. And the experts will let us in on some of the fresh experiences to keep an eye out for in the new year. We'll also have a controversial discussion on whether our destination names should be renamed back to local names or whether we should maintain the foreign or call them colonial names. As we always say, the podcast is available on all major streaming platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Radio Republic, Pocket Casts, and several other platforms. All right, I'll see you in the fourth section.